Hello, this is Nadia, and welcome to Free My Mojo podcast number 38. And this way is all about the fact that all words carry a charge that cannot be erased. Another way of saying this would be to say that all words said or written are permanent. In other words, when we say something to someone or when we use a word in our thoughts or ideas, that word cannot be erased. And perhaps one of my greatest examples of this would be that I was one time called by a parent for advice because in a fit of anger, she had yelled at her 10-year-old son and said to him, "I hate you." And the child looked at her tearfully and said, You're not supposed to hate me, you're my mother. And she said, "Well, I do, I hate you." And the child ran away and locked himself in his room and cried, and she called me and she said, "What can I do? How can I take these words back?" And I remember sitting across from this tearful woman and saying to her, "You just can't. You just can't take it back. But what you can do is try to explain to your son the stress, the pressure, the difficulties you've been having in dealing with his strong will, and that you cracked, that you were human, and that you broke, and that you said something. And it isn't what you meant to say, but that in that moment, you were having so much anxiety that this is the phrase that came out of you." And it was one of those moments where I really saw very, very clearly how painful it can be for a person to use language or to use a word because something within them is just so painful. And what we do sometimes in using a word like this or using words in this configuration is we pass our pain along to another person. Now, it is possible that that mother in that moment needed that child to stop whatever it was that he was doing that was pushing her so far. But I think we can all agree that as a parent, it is not exactly a proud moment. And perhaps we have words that were used towards us. Maybe there was a point in our life where someone who we felt was supposed to love us lost it with us, or said something cruel, or said something cold, or said something mean. Or maybe we read something that we weren't supposed to see that somebody else wrote. So one of the things that we need to think of is words are like emotional tattoos. Perhaps we will be more selective in how we use them, and we'll understand the relationship with words is so important. For example, I made a commitment to read a poem a day for a year, and every day I read a poem. I found that it made my mood different. So saying those words out loud that were beautiful and that were written by other poets, some poets I knew, some poets I didn't know, but by putting the words of the poetry into my life, it created a positive charge. And there are days when if I'm having a really hard day, I literally will look for a poem and I will read it, and I will read it to myself as a way of almost recharging my own battery or setting my own pace because I need my mood to turn around. So understanding that just like a battery that has a positive or negative charge, that when we're looking to recharge our batteries, we need to be careful we don't blow ourselves up. So the nature of words are very important. Like if we have a phrase we tell ourselves, there's a certain amount of telling ourselves those words over and over that make us think that that must be true. For example, if we keep telling ourselves, "I'm broke, I'm fat, I'm unlovable, I'll never do better than this." All of those things are affirmations, and they're all affirmations for things we don't want. So if you catch yourself using words towards yourself that are negative, I'd love for you to get in the habit of just following it with, "That wasn't kind, I'm sorry." So, for example, you say, "Oh, I can't believe I've made this mess." And if you say to yourself, "Well, I'm in the process of doing something better here," or "I'm in the process of creating something greater here." If you can start to show yourself compassion about your words, and if you can start to be kinder to yourself, you almost want to eliminate certain words from your vocabulary. There are just certain words that really are not helpful. So instead of thinking of the word as good or bad, think of it as helpful or unhelpful. So as you talk to yourself and as you talk to other people, become really vigilant about your language. And the way I started to see it was there were some words that I wasn't going to use because the cost of using that word was too expensive for me. It was something that I couldn't afford. A long time ago, I was in a relationship with someone who drank too much. And on an occasion when they drank too much, they said to me that they thought I had done well in my film career because I probably had slept with somebody. Now, I can't even begin to tell you how hurtful those words were. And then the next day when that person didn't remember using those words and saying those words, it was just as bad. So saying, I don't remember, I didn't mean to say it, didn't really help me at all. But the accusation that I had somehow, casting couched or slept my way into any responsibilities or opportunities was just so unkind and unfair and also untrue that it was something that actually killed the relationship in terms of I was never able to trust that person again. I wasn't able to stay in that relationship with that person again. And the fact that they were drunk when they said it really was of no comfort to me. So the truth of the matter is we have to be careful that there are certain words and there are certain things that if we say them to someone, we need to understand the consequences of saying those things. And constantly saying mean or unkind things to yourself over and over, it has a huge impact. So as we go forward with this, we really want to start to understand that how things are said is really important, and that we are either increasing our energy or increasing our vibration or increasing our love, or we are diminishing it. And I also want you to understand that when you don't say words, when you sulk or when you're moody or when you don't share words of affirmation with other people, that is also a way of creating a negative charge. Because when it comes down to it, we're always communicating. We're always letting people know how we feel. We're always letting people know where we're coming from. And we need to understand that our words carry a charge. And in carrying that charge, they're either rejuvenating the relationship or they are reducing the relationship. But no relationship is ever staying the same. So the way that you speak to anyone, your dog, your child, even plants, they've even proven that plants that are spoken to badly and when meanness is used, that the plants do not do as well as plants that are spoken to kindly. It really does make a difference. So taking this to our advantage, we really want to start using words that are beautiful or empowering or strong or kind or just uplifting in some way. And we want to move ourselves away from language that is demeaning or ugly or mean or painful. So as you go forward, I hope you will start to celebrate the beauty of language and become a master of your own language so that you only speak to yourself and those around you in loving tones. So that's our message today about the importance of words and how important they are. And if I were you, I would get in the habit of really listening to myself and really listening to how people are talking to you. And one of my pieces of advice would be that if someone says something really mean or unkind to you, that you offer it back to them and you say to them, did you say that to help me? Why would you say something like that to me? And just simply asking someone why they would talk to you that way, that is a very powerful tool. So do not take on anybody's negativity, anybody's accusations, anybody's mean words. Don't take them on. And for goodness sake, also don't be the person who, whether they're angry or drunk or tired or confused or jealous or whatever your story, that you do not destroy relationships and do not destroy people with unkind words. So as a result, we're going to increase our charge, increase our vibe, maximize our mojo by being people who really use language that is positive in nature and that uplifts ourselves and uplifts other people, whether it's the lyrics of songs or whether it's books that you read or poems that you read or friends who are fun and love you and adore you. Even it's in the way you send a text message, But please, please, please continue to use words and language to uplift and to grow and to cultivate, because this is the charge that we want. And in doing so, we become really powerful people who are capable of really helping others heal by offering compassion, by offering love, and by uplifting ourselves and others. So that's our podcast for today. As always, it's a joy to have you with me, and I'm so grateful you're listening. Thank you so much. And gratitude for sure is a positive way to create a great charge and to give appreciation to other people and to ourselves. So once again, thanks for joining us.